Welcome to Icarus, a newly terraformed planet chosen to be our second home. As a member of the elite Clone Prospector Corps, we have been selected for our unparalleled skills in gathering, hunting, and mining. We must navigate the dangers of this hostile world in order to complete the most challenging of tasks in just 100 days to prepare for the imminent arrival of the settler fleet. Failure is not an option, as the fate of the settlers rests on our success. After a rough landing, his pod hatch opened up, and he climbed out. And after taking a look around at this wonderful new world, he began to collect stones and oxide, a mineralized oxygen rock needed so he can breathe on this unforgiving planet. He gathered up more of what he could to craft his first tools, and he smashed a rock into bits and...
That's a cat of some sort. Oh no.
He moved behind the ship to gather wood.
That's a wolf.
He then made a spear to defend himself. Wanting to waste no time, he set off to place the first of the landing beacons. Making his way down, he gathered up what food he could find, and unfortunately, while jumping off a ledge, he sprained his ankle.
Oh, ow.
He carried on, getting some much-needed water. And a minor storm came in, but it passed by fairly quickly. He then carried on until he reached the border that led into the snow. Realizing he isn't quite prepared enough for the cold, he headed back to craft a torch to see if that will help heat up the area just enough for him to pass. Yeah, it was a stupid idea, but he tried it anyways. It was starting to get dark, so he started to head back to the ship when he got ambushed by a jaguar. And that there is where Clone 001 was terminated. 002 awoken on the drop down, realizing that 001 had died. Had the unfortunate happenstance of being dropped in at night. He attempts to gather what he can before it goes pitch black, and make his way to the corpse of 001 to recover what he could. But unfortunately for 002, the lesson he learned was blindly walking in the dark will lead to bears.
That's a bear.
He ran up the hill and he jumped up onto a rock, and he hoped that bears can't climb.
Hey, Yogi! Off! There ain't no picnic basket here!
He was terrified and cold, listening to everything that could eat him just beyond the light of his torch. So to pass the time, he pulled out his phone and he played Raid Shadow. Why yes, I actually did. While I'm scripting, editing, I like to play Raid Shadow Legends. This game has awesome graphics, tons of champions to collect, over 700, and amazing gameplay. Seriously, the boss fights are the best. Does it have PvP? You bet it does. With the variety of modes and the newly released live PvP, this is where you can really put your skills to the test, fighting other players head to head. But my absolute favorite thing to do is the Doom Tower, where you fight floor after floor of progressively harder and scarier bosses that will challenge you to the max as you go. Like Agrith, where you have to use a combination of healing and shields and dispelling in order to combat against the high poison damage, while still managing to deal enough damage to see the fight until the end. And if you start playing before May 15th, we're hunting for dragon eggs. Go to egghunt.polarium.com to earn random rewards, legendary champions, and Amazon gift cards that can be worth up to $20,000. That's insane. Use my link down below or my QR code to get an awesome head start, and then search chaotic_GYT and join me and my clan and help me in slaying the clan only bosses today, because y'all know I'm going to need the help. As morning approached, he had no choice but to put Raid down and try to make it to the river for some water. Once he made it there and he got that much needed hydration, he turned to see the shadow of a bear just up the river.
Oh, oh,
Deciding that hanging around was a good way to get eaten, he took off into the wilderness to retrieve his clone's corpse. And even though a storm had set in, he pushed his way up the mountain, cautiously approaching his former self's corpse to reclaim the items. He had found that the jaguar was now gone, and he could reclaim his gear. He decided it was time to gain some experience and level up his body, and he started chopping down trees. when an old friend had come back. But luckily he had crafted up some javelins before arriving here, and he managed to get in 2 great hits, taking out that cat before becoming another snack. Hearing what sounded like another big cat not too far away, he took off up the hill, hoping to recover a bit from his injuries. And feeling safer, he went back to trying to level up a bit. After crafting a bow and some arrows, he went on the hunt for some food. But he nearly got mauled by another damn cat. He carried on hunting what he could.
Oh! I was not aiming for that one. Oh god. Oh, f you! You can have the baby! You can have the baby! You can have the baby!
And after a narrow escape,
It can have the baby.
Clone 002 went back on the hunt for meat and hide.
Got it!
When another storm rolled in. He took cover in his dropship, and once the storm had passed, he started to set up camp, and he waited by the fire for morning to come. Early on in the morning, he set off to get some water because he was deadly thirsty, and he made it safely to the river again. Once his thirst was satisfied, he went back to hunting for fur. He was on a mission to make a bedroll so he could sleep at some point. But he carried on and made his way to the next beacon, hoping it wasn't blocked by snow too.
Nice. That's a bear.
He jumped into the river and hoped he could outswim the beast,
No!
but it persisted even with chaotic clone 002 poking it in the face.
You. No. 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 No.
Son of a 003 woke up much like 002 did on his way down to the surface. Once he had landed, he noticed he still had some of 002's injuries. Confused, he carried on.
How the f did I just get venomed?
He ran back to 002's body, and thankfully the bear had left after eating its fill. And he recovered all of his stuff. Looks like that bear didn't get too far though, and he carried on gathering what he could until he made it to the first drop zone.
Looks like you're getting a typical local welcome. Take care of that, would you?
But it was a Komodo dragon nesting site, and he had to clear it out before he could place the beacon. He was doing well, but he eventually started making mistakes, and it cost him his life. And that was the short-lived chaotic 003. After making his way back through storms, darkness, and gravity, 004 recovered his stuff, and he finishes off the remaining Komodo dragons. And he placed down the first beacon. Heading back, 004 decided to hunt for more animal parts along the way. But that didn't work out for him. Chaotic 005 inbound. After 5 attained 4 stuff, he made his way back towards the ship. But darkness approaches, and he climbed up a rock and he waited out the night. When the sun started coming up, he headed out, and after dealing with a wolf, or 2, or 3, or 4, he finally made it back to his ship, and he crafted himself a bedroll, and he went back to hunting. But he quickly became the hunted.
Oh, fuck!
Rawr, I'm a jaguar.
Oh, you f***ing jaguar piece of shit!
Rawr.
Oh.
After surviving the day, he hid in the ship until a storm that rolled in was over. And then he placed a sleeping bag on the floor, and he slept for the first night since he got here. In the morning, he set off to get to that second beacon location, and he came across some very large birds, just walking around. And having no idea what the heck they were, he went very far around them, just in case they were predators. Once he arrived at the beacon's location, he noticed a croc with the name Broken Tooth. Curious,
Broken Tooth.
he decided to poke it.
Oh
It
shit!
didn't like that, and it chased him around, until he managed to outsmart it with a ledge. And he continued to poke it until his poking stick broke. And he brought out his lesser poking stick. It was getting low on health, and he foolishly chased it.
Oh!
Chaotic 006 makes it back to 005 Spotty, grabs his gear, and he makes a ton more arrows. He was not letting this oversized boot best him. Taking Five's plan to the next level, he kited it around the ledge every time it got smart enough to go around, until it finally fell to his numerous blows. And his little brother decided to get in on the fight just as Broken Tooth went down. Luckily though, it was considerably weaker. After cautiously placing down the beacon and getting away from the buffalo and her calf, he headed back to the dropship and he went to bed. The next morning he went back to the cold so he could place that final beacon, and he discovered that polar bears were wandering around the snow. Giving the bears a wide girth, he made his way to the top of the hill to place the beacon. And he discovered that this bear was not only blocking the area, but he was going to have to kill it.
How the f am I supposed to get rid of it? All I got's a goddamn bow. I can't even fight a regular bear, let alone a polar bear, bud.
He climbed up a ledge in the hopes that this dreaded bear would not be able to climb up. But it was smarter than he thought it would be, and it would run back up the hill if it got too far away from its territory, and it would miraculously heal up. So he did the only thing he could do, and he charged in, hoping to outrun a polar bear. Yeah, it sounded dumb to him too.
What am I supposed to do with this?
As 007 fell from the sky, he had a license to kill. But what could even be done to bring down a large, angry polar bear? After looking through the databanks to see what he could even make to help him in his efforts, he ended up coming across a wooden hedgehog blueprint, a deadly looking spiked wall. That might do the trick. Rather than go back and risk death in the snow, he decided to recraft everything and he carried on gathering from there. And in the morning, while gathering some stone, he got ambushed, and the jaguar nearly kills him just as he jumps up into the ship, just out of its reach.
Bad kitty. Bad kitty. You broke my bed!
After taking it down, he had to wait out the storm and try to heal up some when he seen that another jaguar is munching on his fallen friend.
That's my goddamn kitty, you cannibalistic Now we got wolves.
Once they are all down, he makes a bandage to stop the bleeding, and he begins trying to skin up his prey.
Oh my god!
Okay, that must be all of them, he thought. And he gets back to work and he builds a nice little hut.
Well, not quite how I wanted it, but you know what? We're just gonna go with it.
After waking up on the morning of day 9, he realized he was a high enough level to make a crafting bench and start making those wooden hedgehogs. First thing he crafts a ton of rope, and then he gathers even more wood. He even crafted and then tested a skinning bench that allowed him to gain even more resources from harvesting animals. On day 10, after crafting up enough hedgehogs, he headed back to the mountain, and he made his way through the snow, and he set up all of his hedgehogs in a nice little row.
Nice, got him!
Nice job. You're a natural at this stuff.
After defeating the dreadful bear, he headed back to his ship and he launched back up to the station, grateful that this mission was finally over. Early in the morning of the 12th day, he was sent back to the planet to set up a small outpost for future surveying missions. And well, it didn't take him long and he returned back to the station. Easiest money he had ever made. On day 14, he was given a much harder task. This time he had to survey the land in preparation for a large settlement. He got right to it and he gathered up everything he would need for the coming days. First some weapons and then a forward operating base. He did some hunting and yes, even more gathering. Once he was ready to go, he headed off to the first survey location. Once there, Chaotic 007 set up the surveyor and turned it on. When suddenly a cute baby bear comes gunning to gnaw at his feet. But unfortunately, where there is a baby, a mama bear surely isn't far.
Yep, there she is.
After mama went down, a whole horde of baby bears came running right out of the bushes. It was the cutest death ball one would ever see. It was a shame that 007 had to kill all of them. One place scanned and only 2 more to go. The next day, Chaotic 007 had to go on a very long hike through the mountain pass so he could find the next survey location. It was so long that he ended up being trapped in a terrible windstorm, one that nearly took him out.
Oh,
Once the storm was over, he arrived at the location and he placed down the machine and he awaited for the next group of predators that didn't like the noise to show up and eat him. Deciding that he had some time, he began to retrofit his forward operating base to accommodate the future settlers, setting up an oxide dissolver for easy oxygen access and a few homemade oxygen tanks to help them out too. In the morning, 007 set off to find that final surveyor location, but unfortunately it attracted the attention of a large wolf pack. The first wolf that showed up pushed him off a cliff, nearly ending this longest running clone's life. But he managed to get back with only a sprained ankle, and he continued defending the machine, slaying wolf after wolf when a huge alpha wolf showed up and tried to end 007. He managed to slay the beast, but there's no time for resting as the machine was under attack. Low on health, and with the scanner nearly finished, Chaotic 007 hoped it would be done before the next wave showed up. With it finishing just as another wave of wolves came around the corner, and he quickly grabbed the surveyor and he took off, managing to just outrun the wolves that were chasing him. After he got away, he headed back to his ship when curiosity took his attention. He seen a small opening in the rock face and he cautiously entered.
what the is it?
Temporarily shocked by what he had just seen, he made his way back inside and shot it dead. Once he made it back to his shuttle, he got in and he launched for the station once more. Back on the station, Chaotic 007 was able to buy a new suit and some equipment to take to the planet, giving himself a decent head start. But a new mission had come in. We will need to set up an ore mine in the mountains for both the settlers and to replenish the stock for the station's repairs. Once planetside, it didn't take Chaotic 007 long to set up a small mining shack and to build up his stockpile. And by day 19, he was heading into the forest to find where the supply crate had dropped in. When he found it, he got himself some new pickaxes and a backpack to help with carrying capacity. And venturing to the edge of the cliff to his marked out mining site, a drop pod came down so he could fill it up with all the ore he's going to need to collect. Over the next few days, he mined all he could, defended himself when he had to, and he scouted out new mines to complete his mission, before returning home, satisfied that the station's repair crew could keep working.
Lit it in my face! That might have killed me, you assholes!
Word has come in that some of the mining surveyors have been attacked and killed by an unknown creature. and Chaotic 007 was sent back down to the mining operation he set up prior to find and remove this threat before it could do any more damage to the mining operations that the settler fleet will need when it arrives. They will need this operation ready to go to ensure their survival. Once he arrived, he built up so much faster with his new tools, and he got it done just in time as a storm arrived as he was getting the roof on. Once it was over, he went back to gearing up. And since he had no idea how much of a threat he was going up against, he started collecting up metal to make better weapons and arrows. But as he was crafting the anvil bench, a tree fell from the storm that was raging outside, breaking a corner of his house.
Son of a bitch. Oh, man. It broke it.
Well, at least after that, he made a new leather armor set that should keep him protected a little bit better. With what little daylight there was left, he set out to track down this beast, and he made it to where the first surveyor was attacked. And he seen a lone wolf, and after taking it out, he seen a bear nearby too. Well, at least his new armor's coming in handy. And after taking it out, he finds the blood from that poor surveyor. After getting some sleep, he headed for the second location, and he found the same thing, a lone wolf next to the blood-stained ground. He then headed to the third location, and this time it looked like it took out the surveyor while they were hunting some food. I know that story, the hunter of becoming the hunted, all too well.
But that's everything we need. Assembly's bots ain't the best, but they've got to guess at where it's bedding down. See if you can find its den and end this.
Waiting on the drones to find the creature's den, he set off to hunt and mine and upgrade as much as he could while he waited. And while he was fighting a worm, he heard an unusual amount of howling in the distance. That must be the animal he was hunting, and as he checked the map, the drones had found them, and he raced to their den to put an end to this. He arrived and he snuck in to see if they had left for the hunt, but he soon discovered that a big, dark wolf had stayed behind and ran into the den, howling for its pack to return.
Oh, fuck off!
He quickly tried to back away, taking down wolf after wolf, until all that remained was the big one, and he got its health low. It turned, and it ran back into the den, and it howled for more of its pack for help. And this process repeated a couple of more times before he realized he was outgunned, and he had to retreat. Low on health, he was forced to wait on another rock until morning. When he was finally able to make his way back to base, he made up some medical supplies and upgraded as much as he could, before heading back to that savage beast and its pack, where he fought as hard as he could, but that wolf landed a lucky blow on one of his arteries, and he bled out within seconds.
No!
Chaotic 008 woke up
Sakes.
crashing to the planet, hoping to die another day. He waited out the night, and he charged his way back to the wolf den to collect 007 stuff.
Excuse me, I need to go re-equip before we fight.
And when he had that stuff and equipped it all, he went all out to take down this wolf, shooting his arrows and trying to stay out of the wolf's jaws long enough to bring it down. Blow after blow and howl after howl.
Get out of here, you son of a...
He finally was successful in slaying this man-killing wolf from hell.
Die, you son of a...
However, his troubles were not yet over as a thunderstorm was rolling in. He attempted to make it back to his ship, but he was too late and he was forced to wait out this crazy storm in his shack. Terrified, he watched in horror as the storm was ripping it apart piece by piece. Hours had passed by and the storm with them. He surveyed the damage and realized that the settlers were not going to survive storms like that. And he headed back to the space station to talk to the researchers to come up with a plan to save them. The scientists all agreed that we need more data, and they're sending Chaotic Clone 008 back down to the planet to set up sensors to figure out what is causing this insane weather. And once he had landed, he went into overdrive to gather and build up as quickly as possible. Setting out on the hunt for Hyde, Chaotic 008 met his match.
Oh shit. Bear! Oh god, that's a giant turkey too! Go! I would have been fine if it wasn't for the birds, but it looks like I was correct. The birds are aggressive.
Another clone woke up and landed and opted out of recovering his former self stuff and rebuilt all of the gear and tools. And remembering what happened the last time he used surveying equipment, he opted to make hedgehogs. Because the scanners just usually upset the local wildlife. Once he got to the first location, he found a very angry bear. And he was very glad to have those hedgehogs on hand. He then placed the second one, and then the third one after dealing with an angry kitty.
Station 3 connected.
All that's left is to uplink and send the data back to the station. Ironically, a storm appeared as he was heading to set it up. And once he got there, he activated the uplink, and it wasn't long before waves of aggressive animals came in for the attack. And he was quickly overwhelmed, and the uplink was destroyed. And that's when they turned to go after him. He decided that he was most likely going to need a lot of those hedgehogs, since the previous Chaotic used up the few that he had created from before. And after setting them all up in a nice little circle, he activated the uplink ready for the horde. And it worked perfectly. Things just charged in to their deaths, unable to prevent themselves from trying to get to that upload link. Excellent. Now hopefully the test scans will get what those researchers need.
Scans done.
At some point after returning to the station, the lead scientist went mad with excitement and he took off for the ground. He wasn't heard from since. We are assuming he got eaten. But Chaotic 009 had to go and recover his ship. And from satellite images, it would appear that he had a rough landing. Carnivores in this area are at an all-time high in population too, so he was instructed to gear up to all new heights. And he spent the entire day crafting and building a very nice looking base over the river. Once he had the base set up, he went out and he started hunting for meat and hide. And while doing that, he found a cave with lots of much needed metals. And after clearing out the worms, he got enough iron to start upgrading his tools. But first, he made up some other essentials, and he hunted down for more hide. And then he crafted a forge and a mortar and pestle, and he spent the rest of the day mining. And by day 35, he had finally crafted a new machining bench, and then a cement mixer. He then went hunting for as much silicate as he could find so he could make concrete. And a boar got a little too close and paid the ultimate price for its curiosity. And all of that was just so he could craft a concrete furnace to smelt steel bars. Oh, wait for this. Chaotic 009 was completely dumbfounded here.
What the f? No! Oh. Oh, f okay.
What happened? You're fine.
So my floor just randomly broke. Okay? With the concrete mixer and the concrete forge I just spent the last 2 days making. On top of it.
Oh no.
Well, that's what you get for putting a giant heavy concrete mixer on the thatch floor. What did you expect was going to happen?
I think that's what happened. There's no support underneath it, so it just broke. Dude, is that a mechanic in this game? Like, it's been fine, and then suddenly I place it down, and next thing you know, I look, I look up and the walls are shaking and starting to crack, and I'm like, what the f? So I pull out my repair hammer and I start hammering on it. And then the floor breaks out as I'm preparing it, and it's just gone. Thankfully,
That's what you get for not
thankfully,
being
the
instructionally
game
sound.
thankfully the game was like, no, it's not broken, it's just in the loot bag, you're okay. Because I would have just rage quit. Oh my god!
I mean, what do you think? That you could just build an entire house out of thatch and it would just last forever? You could just build like a
every
2x2
survival
box out of
game
thatch.
I've played up to this point says yes.
No. That's not okay. That's not structurally sound. You can't just like make a house out of thatch. The big bad wolf is gonna come up and blow your house down.
The mother just did, so shut up. Okay, I'm gonna build a floor. Okay. Gonna deploy it. Let's build a beam. Because apparently there's weight mechanics. After replacing the floor and resetting down the forge, he crafted a steel pickaxe and he headed off to get enough aluminum to make that compound bow. And then he put it to the test and it was awesome. After crafting and gathering some more, another superstorm had come in, and he had to scramble to try and keep his place in one piece as the storm raged on. After managing to stay the storm, he finished making up some steel arrows and, on day 38, he cautiously approached the downed ship. He investigated it. It was out of fuel and the gyroscope was damaged too, and the rocket thrusters were completely missing. This guy really messed it all up. Chaotic 009 got a ping on his map for a location found by the satellite, and he set off to see if he could find the missing thrusters. He came upon the site and there was a very large Black Panther also checking it out. And he was able to quickly dispatch the kitty with his upgraded bow. And he quickly recovered the thrusters. And once he was back at base, he repaired the gyroscope and he built a biofuel composter. He had gotten word that the wildlife in the area was picking up to an extreme degree and that he should build some very sturdy defenses. So he spent the rest of the day and the night building a sturdy defensive wall with spikes to prevent any creatures from stomping this launch. And the moment he turned on the pre-launch sequence, they came out of the woods and began to assault the walls. All was going well, killing wolves left and right, when suddenly a really large bear showed up. And it was a fight for his life. The ship took off and it finished just in the nick of time.
That's everything. You did it, and lived to tell the tale.
Chaotic 009 then finished off the bear and he launched himself back to the station. Now that we've recovered the dropship, it was now time to test our research team's new tool to try and break up the storms. After dropping in and setting up, he set off to the locations where the parts had landed. The first was easy enough, but the other two had crashed into the snow. After dodging polar bears and mammoths, he got the last two and he headed back to base where he built up the unit. And once it was ready to go, he headed back to the snow to build the shack, so that way he could protect this weather-altering device. The problem was he had to wait for a storm to come. And while waiting, he noticed a polar bear getting a little too close for comfort, and he retreated all the way into the back of his shack, and he stepped on his fire. Oh, Oh, Afraid he had completely screwed the one-of-a-kind weather device, he panicked, and he tried repairing the building pieces as they burned away. When suddenly he remembered he could make a fire whacker to put out that fire. But as he finished making it, the fire suddenly went out on its own. His shack forever scarred with char marks, he ended up waiting all day when a snowstorm had finally set in. He activated the machine and he waited with a bated breath for it to do its work. All was going well until it was nearly complete and the storm was dissipating, when suddenly things just started breaking. Quickly replacing what he could, the final pieces broke as the machine was finished.
We're getting readings. What is that thing doing?
Huh?
Oh, phew. Looks like that machine is going to need some calibrations. Unfortunately, this was the last thing 009 got to do as he tripped right into a hungry polar bear.
Oh no. Oh no. Bad polar bear. Bad polar bear. Okay, I'm going down.
Chaotic 010 was sent down to retrieve the device and the ship. Turns out these new exotic minerals found on this planet are causing these storms to grow in strength. And Chaotic 010 was sent back down to find as much as he could in the snow. After lightly gearing up, he made the trek back to the mountains, dodging the bears until he found a cave, and after dealing with some more of these damn worms, he mined up the first exotic rock we've ever seen. But it wasn't enough, and they wanted more, so he set off to find it. It wasn't long before he seen some more in a crack in the snow, and after climbing into the hole and mining it up, he set off to find more. He then came across another cave, but he got ambushed by a few worms, and they weakened him greatly, and as he carried on, hypothermia set in. And with his health already low, he attempted to get out of the cold before he perished. He was forced to make a shelter and try and hold out until the storm had passed. He made it back to the ship early in the morning of day 49, and due to the instability of the exotic ore, he had to start setting up a small mining base and gathering the materials he would need to craft a beacon. And after a few hours, he placed down that beacon, and the ore ship landed, and after it was loaded, he sent it back to the station.
You're finished here. For now, at least. If you're looking to earn the Assembly's trust, you're doing it.
He returned to the station himself. Hopefully, this will help in figuring out how to get this weather sorted before that settler fleet gets here. On day 51, we were sent back down to the planet to carry on with the mission of setting up and scouting new locations for the settlers. And this time, he has to make his way to the desert and scout ahead. They don't want to risk him getting sent directly into the desert as it's unknown territory. So he had to set up a base of operations at a mine and make his way through a cave system that had collapsed. Once he had got a base set up, he placed the solar power and then a mining rig, and he ran the power cables between them, and the machine kicked in. As it was drilling away, it attracted the attention of the local worms, and he had to take them out before they damaged the rig. Once it had broke through the first location, he had to do this process 2 more times before making it into the desert. He scouted around for a safe drop location, and then he returned to the station. And on day 54, he was sent back down to the planet to survey 3 new locations around the desert for geometric data of that area. And he wasn't long figuring out that the creatures here were even less friendly than the ones in the forest. As he was attempting to cook his food, his water supply was quickly running low from this desert heat, and he was forced to head to the river. Once he had got there, a sandstorm kicked up, and he was going to require shelter in order to survive it. But before he could get it crafted, a giant scorpion had snuck up on him.
Scorpion!
There turns out to be an issue with the cloning chambers now, and he's only got 2 more clones left for the rest of the mission. And if he loses them, the mission will be a failure. So Chaotic 011 had to be extremely careful from this point on. He cautiously made his way back to his former self-stuff, and he recovered it. And then he got to work on crafting and gearing up with hide armor, before attempting to get some shut-eye. After sneaking his way to the first scan location, he set up some hedgehogs, knowing full well he's going to get attacked once it's turned on. He awaited for the coming storm when something he had not expected charged in. He shot it in the forehead with an arrow, and it was just dumbfounded that it got attacked. And it stood there, so he just kept pelting it with arrows until it fell. He wasn't taking any chances that thing was going to change its mind. He then fought his way to the second location and set up everything he had on him to slow down whatever it was that was going to charge in this time. And he was relieved it was just a kitty, and it fell quickly. He moved on to the last location, and this time he had a pack of hyenas charge in, as well as a scorpion or two. He then set up camp for the night, knowing he wouldn't make it back to the ship in time. And in the morning, he tried making his way back to the dropship, but another sandstorm came in, and he had to bunker down. He at least had some company while he rode out the storm. After fighting his way back to the ship, he launched back to the station once more. Now that the desert was scanned up, it was time to blaze a trail into the Riverlands in the north. The problem is they don't have a safe location to land the dropship in, and we'll have to traverse the unforgiving desert once again. Knowing this is going to be a long journey, he did the usual grind and he got himself everything he's going to need made up. After he waited out the sandstorm, he figured he could make it to the border of the desert by nightfall and set up camp there. Once the storm was over, he set off, taking out tons of aggressive animals along the way. When he got there, he seen one last kitty blocking the path, and once he took it out, he went to recover his arrow. He heard yet another big cat, and when he looked up, he seen a giant bear behind the kitty. And not only that, the bear seen him too.
No! 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 Son of a...
Once Chaotic 012 landed, he ran for 11 stuff, and he made it there just as it was fading to dark. So he set up camp for the night. And in the morning, he made his way into a lush green woodlands, and he found a couple adult moas with their babies in tow.
Am I your new daddy? This is so cool. I know, you want, your temperature's good, you want food, and some other shit. I don't know how to tame you, bud. Alright, you can follow me around. Hey, buddy. You can follow me too.
Once he and his two new friends made it to the cliffside, he was informed that he had to build his way up in order to get across.
But if you build a way up that face, sad images look like you'd have a clean run all the way to the Riverlands.
Aw, I can't tame you guys. I need an iron bench. But you're so cute! I know! You guys are my twins. You're the twin. Your brothers from other mothers, but you're my twins, okay? You're my twins. Oh my god. Yeah. If I didn't have to go home, I would take you with me if you would fit in my spaceship. I would. Right. Be careful of the fire, all right? Do not step in the fire. Yeah, I see you looking at it. Don't step in it. Yeah, look at you cute boogers.
And once he made it to the top,
Okay. Do I gotta build my way down?
he set out to gather more wood to build down, and while he was at it, he ended up orphaning a new friend.
No. Oh, yeah, there we go. He's following me too! I have a baby buffalo! Haha! Oh, almost shot the twin. Look, I'm sorry, bud, but you almost got shot. Don't run up on me like that.
He was finally finished making the stairs down by the morning, and he cautiously set out, making his way through a long, narrow valley.
I'm sorry I orphaned you. I really am. Don't take it out on your future humans that you see, okay, bud?
Until it finally opened up into a great ravine. And once he got to his destination, he placed down the beacon, and he had to make his way back to the ship.
Aw. I asked you not to take it out on humanity. Are you having problems getting up, bud? You need a push? You okay? You okay? You look like you got into some weed. You alright? You okay? Oh, you're doing yoga. Now it makes sense.
Now that we had the landing zone worked out, we were able to land in the Riverlands. Prime real estate for the taking. All he needed to do was survey the land and protect the equipment. He had the bright idea of setting up at the first scan location, so he traveled there first. And well, you know the drill. He was nearly set up when a massive storm broke out. He ducked into a shelter just in time as a huge tree fell on it. Once the storm had calmed down, all he had to do was finish crafting up some hide armor. But he ran into another Yogi. And without his armor, he ended up becoming a snack too. What are we at now? Oh yeah, chaotic lucky number 13 made his way planetside, and he picked up where 12 left off. The next morning, 13 crafted up some of those super awesome hedgehogs, and he set them in place and he started up the scanner. Then he ducked across the river behind a shack, and he waited. 2 wolves showed up, and well, they weren't really that much of a threat to him. Once the scan finished up, he went to the second location and he set up the spikes again, and he started the scanning process. He jumped up on a rock and 2 big mother bears came barreling out of the forest.
Oh boy.
There's a problem.
Oh.
The unit back up, or this is going nowhere.
Oh, you! Yeah. Oh.
2 locations down, 1 left to go. The third one was, however, just a couple of boars, and they went down easy compared to those bears.
This is going nowhere.
It's been a long road to get here, so we decided to take a few days off, just for ourselves. And he went down to Icarus to tame those dorky birds and those cuddly buffalo. In order to do that, he had to orphan some babies. And they set off to find a cave to set up a home base for this little foray into the wilderness. After slaying some worms and gathering some iron ore, he found a little lone buffalo hiding in here as well. So yeah, he claimed him too. After setting everything up and placing a feeding trough, he set out to get more fur to make his new buddies a bed to sleep on, and gaining some new friends along the way. Unfortunately, on the way back, he ran into a slight problem. After taking out a wolf, he lost one of them.
Aw. Rip.
Oh well, carrying on. What? We don't waste anything here.
You guys go through a lot of food. Nope. Bad worm.
After getting some shut-eye, he set out to gather all the berries his growing fluffy army will need. Once he had hundreds of berries, he headed home right into a bear trap.
Oh, no! No! You asshole monster bear! You dick! How many of you are left? 1, 2, 3. Who died? Who died? No! No! He broke your face! I can't believe he broke his face! We didn't even name him yet!
With what's left of his babies, Chaotic 13 led them back to his man cave, and he waited hand on foot for his babies to grow up.
He's tamed! Yes! What are we gonna call the first buffalo? Ninja, go.
I don't know.
Fine, fuck it, I'm
Buffalo
calling him.
Bill comes to mind.
I was just about to say Bill. I was already typing it. I got video evidence.
He took Bill out for a test run, and poor Bill has the stamina of a 2-pack-a-day chain smoker. and he had to get off to take care of the mullas himself. Now all he had to do was wait for the other two, and it didn't take that long.
Chocobo. Chocobo. Boom. Saddle? Hell yeah! We're gonna ride our summer chicken! It's so derpy. Oh my god, it's got such a stupid jump! No attack. How am I supposed to ride this thing in the battle if it won't attack? They attack my face all the time. Why can't you attack? Don't give me that stupid answer. Why can't you attack? You're too derpy to be mad at. Alright, we can claim this one. Alright, we need second one is up. Ninja, I'm giving you the second chance to come up with a name for a buffalo. I do the Jeopardy music, but it's copyrighted. Ninja? Ninja? Ninja's dead. Damn it. Alright, we're calling him Bane Bloodhoof.
After naming them,
Alright, tally ho.
they headed out and explored the world. And it wasn't long before they stumbled upon the torn up remains of multiple animals. This is not a good sign. Even though they were on holiday, he had no choice but to track down this deadly predator before the settlers arrive here.
I'm gonna have to track whatever did this down and get rid of it.
He and Chocobo set off to find where this predator's den might be. And even with this grim task, they still tried to have fun along the way.
Did you ever watch Mad TV? Did you ever watch Mad TV?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember that idiot? Look what I can do!
Yep.
That's exactly how the stupid thing jumps.
Stuart.
This is exactly how it jumps. It jumps like Stuart. Look what I can do!
After following the tracks down the river and all the way up a high cliff, they think they might have found it. But nobody was home. An idea struck 13 that he may need to bait it out.
Hello? Anybody in there? Why are you so derpy?
And they set off for their cave dwelling to craft up some much needed armor and to cook something that predators can't resist, with a little extra exotic flavoring added to the pot. Once he was ready to go, he and his team headed out to meet this super predator on its home turf. Though it took a little bit to get there. The buffalo are stupid slow. After an incredibly long journey, they all arrived, and Chaotic 13 placed down the bait, and they waited.
Why'd you guys go and attack it before it ate the bait, you jackasses? You got this, Bill. You got this. Oh my god, Big Kenny! Down it goes. Oh. Yeah. How's it going? Yeah. Good job, guys. Good job. You're no longer following me. Okay. You guys are free to go. Bill. Bane. Be free. Alright, Chocobo. Let's go back to the ship, and then we'll say our goodbyes. Hey. Yeah, you derpy mother Chocobo, buddy. Yeah, chirp away. I got your saddle. Okay, you're free. Alright? Now, shoo. Get! Yeah, you're too dumb for your own good. I can't fit you in the spaceship, bud. Sorry. Alright, be safe. Alright, I love you, man. Hi, buddy.
The research team now needs more of this exotic element, and he was sent down to the planet once again. This time, they will need a lot of it, and he'll have to build his way up to the point that he can scan down a large vein and then mine it. The biggest problem here is that there's multiple huge storm fronts on their way. And for the foreseeable future, there's just going to be a steady stream of very powerful storms. Knowing this, he made his way to a cave to build in and stay somewhat safe from the incoming weather. After spending the next couple of days crafting, gathering, mining, the storms began to show up, and they are worse than he thought they would be. The ore supply was also starting to run low in his current cave, so he had to go out and search for another cave, mostly just for the gold. But he grabbed as much of all the other ores as he could on his way home. On his way back home, the largest storm yet rolled in. Overweight with ore, it was a very slow race to get home before it was too late. And that is where 13's luck ran out.
Trees are starting to fall over. Oh, the storm just got worse. I'm down to like fucking 2% movement speed. Oh, 0% movement speed. I am stuck. Oh no. Oh no. Please. Don't let me die. I don't want to die. Please, almighty Icarus, do not kill me today. I beg of you. Oh, there goes a tree. Shit.
I was luckily enough sent down after the storm was over. With those cloning chambers still broke, I only had 2 more clones left for this mission. I am going to have to be more careful with days upon days worth of work ahead of me. I made it to 13's body, scooped up his stuff, and made it to the base cave and continued on where 13 left off. It took a couple of more days to gather enough resources, but I had finally crafted myself a fabricator, a tier 4 workbench, so I could craft that hand scanner and an electric mining drill with a generator. These storms are starting to get worse and worse too. I hoped all of this work would help that research team in coming up with something to quell this insane weather. Well, there's gonna be nothing left on this planet for when the colony gets here. I finally get a surveyor built, and after some scanning, it points me towards the northeast, and I travel along the path with my drill, hoping to stumble upon it. But after entering the Arctic biome, it became clear that this place was going to be dangerous. There were tons of wolves here. It was getting dark, so I set up a campsite with my new concrete building pieces, and I waited out the night. And in the morning, I traveled back to the Arctic, and found it was currently storming there, so I waited where it was much warmer for it to end. After that, I pushed my way into the valley, avoiding the wolves, and using my hand scanner to try and find that exotic vein. After some searching, I decided to head back to get my surveyor, but I unfortunately got seen by a wolf, and in trying to take it out, the whole pack noticed. Luckily, that rock I was near was just high enough that I was able to make a stand and take them all down. And after wading through another storm, I headed back into the cold to do those scans. After the 3rd day, I had finally found it, and I returned to base camp to get the drilling equipment and to fill up my fuel can. I brought it all back to the Arctic and I set it all up. And
Oh no. I just ran like 2 kilometers and totally forgot to bring the gas. Alright, guess I'm running back through the packs of wolves just to get my goddamn gas. Come back.
I ran back home and I grabbed the gas and I returned back to the mining equipment and I finally turned it on. Now, all I had to do was wait out that dang drill. During the storms, I had to put it all away so the machines wouldn't take damage, and I had to keep quite a few predators from attacking it when they came in. But all in all, it went pretty smooth, and I got enough of these minerals to hopefully last the research team long enough to finish their project. There was a massive avalanche that happened on the north side of the mountain pass, blocking wildlife access, and it could severely affect that precious balance we need for the colony's arrival. I need to find the dropship with the equipment in it to melt out a path that'll allow the Arctic animals to forage for food in the forest. And after landing and doing the normal gathering, I crafted a new fur armor set to help with the cold. I set off for the drop pod's location the next day. It was somewhere in the valley before the Arctic, and after a long journey, I had arrived and made my way down a narrow valley, hoping there really wasn't too many hungry bears guarding the path. Once I had made it to the snow, I was able to calibrate the tracker to find the missing dropship, and I had to creatively build my way to the top of the cliff to retrieve it. Once I had gotten to it, I discovered that the generator wasn't there. Must have got destroyed in the crash. Having little choice, I made my way out of the valley, and I found myself a giant cave with tons of minerals that I needed to get all the way back up to the fabricator tier to make a new generator. I then spent the next 3 days gathering and crafting and building everything needed until I finally got to craft that generator. I set off for that mountain range first thing in the morning, excited to use this giant snow melter. Though I ended up having a problem once I arrived.
I forgot the cables! God damn it. Bullshit. Sucking mother. Dumbass piece of shit.
I grumpily made my way back to base, leaving everything where it was, and I headed home only to find that I needed more resources to craft those damn cables. After gathering the copper, I was setting up to craft that cable when a windstorm came in, and I had to wait until morning before I could even head back out to that avalanche. It turned out that that windstorm was strong enough to destroy my generator.
Are you kidding me? God damn it.
And I had to return home again to gather up more resources and craft another stupid generator. Sorry, yeah. That still kind of pisses me off. And by the 84th day, I had finally crafted a shiny new generator, and then I headed back, where I ran into a bear and I quickly placed down a concrete pillbox to save myself from all those nasty claws. That was some quick thinking I had there. I made it back for the third time, but I had to fight my way up to the location. Once there, I set up another pillbox to protect the generator this time. But it wasn't long before even more predators looking to go up into the mountains showed up, and I quickly picked up the generator and I began to shoot. And once the threat was cleared up, I got everything in place again.
Of course you distract me, you dog.
What the? Where'd they come from?
Oh god! Oh god! No! Yeah, not very bright, are you, you big? One down, two to go. Are you angry? Calm down. We okay? Alright. I won't kill you.
Now that the snow was melted, I still wasn't quite finished yet, as the Grand Leader up in the station wanted me to scout around before I could head home. And after camping out for the night, I returned to my dropship and I launched back to the station. Up next, I'm going to need to survey the mountainous regions to make sure it was stable enough and this wouldn't happen again in the near future. And I was sent back down to the surface with scanning equipment on board. After doing the normal routine of setting up, I headed back for the mountains once again. I made it to the first location easily enough, and I prepared for an attack after placing the scanner. After dealing with a few cats and dogs, I picked up the scanner and I headed to the second marked location. I placed the scanner and a very large pack of wolves got upset, but they were so mad that they couldn't remember to go around to climb up to get to me, and I was not complaining. After the scan was finished, I set off for the last location to set up a perch to stand on. And what ended up coming in, I was not expecting or prepared for.
I didn't build this up high enough. I didn't build this up high
Thankfully,
enough.
after a tense few moments, I killed the beast and finished the scans. A snowstorm unfortunately came in right after, and I was forced to hunker down for a bit, and then I fought my way off the mountain and I launched back to the station. It's come in that a bull mammoth was rampaging through the mountains, killing everything in its path. I was fortunately chosen to locate and terminate it. I was also given a brand new armor set that I could land with so I could do this mission as fast as possible, and I headed right into the mountains right away. As I made my way into the mountains, a storm started to roll in, so I ducked into a nearby cave. And while I was waiting, I set up a campfire and I started cooking. And once it was done, I noticed it was getting late, so I headed out of the mountains and I set up camp for the night. The next day, I went back to that cave and I started gathering minerals to make some more arrows, as I was starting to run low. I even made a better skinning knife, as my standard plastic one from the station was getting low on durability. After getting all of that done, I set off to find that bull mammoth, but I ended up having to wait out another storm. After the storm was over, I finally found the lumbering giant, and knowing I am no match for that Goliath, I built a stand on the cliff's edge to shoot at it from. I was glad I did, because it took nearly every arrow I had to bring it down. All that was left to do was to make it back to the ship, and I didn't waste a single minute, and I got there and launched once more into the sky. There was some early arrivers from the colony fleet that showed up, and they started sending down colonists before we were even ready. And now I'm being sent down because one of the dropships reported being shot at as it was landing, and suddenly their transmission cut out. It's now my job to locate them and return them to the station. Well, if they're even still alive. Once I was on the ground, I set off for the last known location, and I ended up seeing smoke in the distance. Not a good sign, so I made my way there. Once I found the pod, it was clearly evident I wasn't going to be finding any survivors. I carried on towards the entry point, trying to find who or what did this to them. Finding pieces of the ship along the way, I made my way into the South Desert, where I found some more debris.
Oh. What the f***? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh. Does it leave me alone? It's not leaving me alone. It's not leaving me alone. No. No. Oh shit. I don't got enough arrows for this. I do not got enough arrows for this. We're gonna have to retreat. Oh, retreat.
Realizing I am completely outmatched, I retreated.
I'll come back later. I'll come back later. I'll come back later.
I found myself a cave, and after clearing out the little, more manageable worms, I started production for better weapons. I spent the next couple of days building up to craft a rifle, but it took more than one cave's worth of resources to get to that point. So I had to travel and find another cave to gather the remaining iron I would need. And after getting some sleep, I crafted up the rifle and its bullets.
Maybe that should be able to take down this giant worm from hell.
I then took a moment to make up some flame arrows, and after heading out and journeying back to the desert, I found my prey.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going? Rawr, I'm a scary worm. Die. Rawr.
I soon noticed that it had a weak spot in its mouth, and we fought for a few minutes before it buried under the sand. It must have realized it was no match for me. Haha.
Looks like the worm made you a way through. That's convenient.
I returned to my dropship and I headed back to the station. I got sent back down to the planet within a day to start doing scans to pinpoint the location of that massive beast. We can't let something like that keep picking off the settlers' dropships, and with the rest of the fleet only days out, time was of the essence. I wasn't long reaching the first location and setting up the scanner. Only one kitty came in, so it was an easy defense. I moved on to the second location, and it turned out to be a nice little spot with a pillar in the middle of the lake, so I set it up there, and that's when something unexpected attacked.
Systems.
Why is there a mammoth in the desert?
Deciding it's best to leave it alone, I jumped off on the other side, and I carried on to the final scan location, where an elephant decided it didn't like my scanner too. And I hit it in the face with an arrow, once or thrice. It calmed down, well, for a moment, and then I had to take it out.
Scans good. Data's
Oh. Oh!
Rest in peace, bud.
Me.
Now that all the scans were done, it's time to go back to the station to get this data analyzed. This is it, the final key to unlock Icarus. We have altered the weather, beat back insane mutated creatures, and battled and built our way to success over this hellscape of a planet.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for watching this far. You are awesome, and thank you for coming along on this epic journey I had on Icarus.
unit, maybe UDA.
After landing, I knew I was going to need a rifle again, so I set up in a nearby cave and I got to work. Knowing I'm going to need some backup, I started killing buffalo for their hide and to steal their babies. And I made them a bed to rest in and a food trough to feed them. I'm going to need a lot of these little guys to help me take on that worm.
Hi there, baby buffalo. Want to come help me kill a death worm? Yes, you do.
So I got 5 of them in total, and while getting them and raising them, I kept gathering all the resources needed for that rifle and bullets. And once I had all of the buffaloes raised up and my rifle ready to go, I named the buffalo. And then I proceeded to make saddles from the hide from their parents, and I set off for the desert to find this final beast. It was a very long and slow journey, but we made it to the first point of interest from the scans. And then we set off for the second point. And as we were reaching the last location, I allowed my Billies and Willies to get a final drink before the fight ahead. We find the third point, and it's not a good sign for my buffalo. And with that, we move on to the desert and we find tremors in the sand, but it was refusing to meet its fate. So I tried to use some fresh meat to get
Try
it
that
out.
one for size.
And as I did that, my buffalo got attacked by some wild cats, and the fight was on.
I recruited an elephant! Oh, my bills are getting fucking beaten. Will, the fight's over there, bud. You ugly son of a b****. Go down! No! All the Buffalo Bills are gone. Oh! Down the son of a goes!
Ooh, man. That thing did not go down easy. Wow. I mean, seriously.
God, it's even uglier up close.
With that beast down, I headed back to my dropship one last time. And I made my way to the dropship as the settler fleet had arrived and dropships were pouring down to the surface. I had did my job. The elite clone Prospector Corp was no longer needed and I was offered a chance to retire and settle here. So I took it. And that is a story for another time.